Good day, it's July 8th, 2023. Guns, guns, and more mass shooting. This is a national tragedy that has befallen this country, the United States. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould, and welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban. Welcome to The Pulse as well.
This week alone, another mass shooting incident took the lives of 5 innocent people who became a victim of a random mass shooting. 2 of them are children. The shooting happened daytime Monday at the Chester Street in the Kansasing neighborhood in Philadelphia. The victims were not known to the shooter, but the shooter just shot at cars and pedestrians randomly. The assailant was arrested after a brief chase in the evening of the same day. Police in Philadelphia arrested 40-year-old Brady Carricker, according to the multiple media outlets. When Carricker was questioned by the police for a motive, he said he just wanted to clean up the neighborhood. In some reports, the suspect has been posting hate messages and rhetoric, the kinds that MAGA supporters would subscribe. Some said that he was a pro-gun and a Trump sympathizer in the views that he was posting. The police had released the names of the shooting victims: 31-year-old Joseph Wama, Lashid Merritt, 20, Dojan Brown, 15, Dimer Stanton, 29, Ralph Morales, 29 years of age. All the victims were male African Americans.
The tragedy caused by gun violence continues to inflict so much pain to the people of this country. The count lists the Philadelphia shooting as the 340th mass shooting in 2023 alone. I will repeat that. 340th mass shooting incidents in 2023 alone, with 416 people dead and 1,355 injured, according to the statistics gathered by organizations and law enforcement who are tracking the numbers of these horrible crimes. The highest in number of incidences and dead people was in the month of May this year, where 84 mass shooting, 93 people died and 315 others injured. In the month of June, come second, had 68 incidences, 65 people died and 323 injured. Republican-controlled legislatures had stayed away from talking about a sensible gun measures and instead passed legislations giving more rights to gun owners, including in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law allowing Floridians to carry guns without license. People all over the country have the right to live, the right to be free from gun violence. Nationwide demand for more gun control has fallen on deaf ears with Republican politicians as they subscribe to the endorsement and campaign support of the National Rifle Association.
The contest for the nomination for the president in the Republican Party is a crowded field. It now has 11 contenders. The list includes Nikki Haley, the former governor of South Carolina, Vivek Ramaswamy, a tech executive, Asa Hutchinson, the former Arkansas governor, incumbent U.S. Senator Tim Scott, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, former Texas Congressman Will Hurd, former Vice President Mike Pence, and of course, Donald Trump. The troubles of Donald Trump continues to grow, and now even Vice President Mike Pence is said to be facing accountability in his alleged involvement to reverse the election of President Joe Biden in favor of Trump. Revelations came this week in multiple media outlets that Mike Pence made a phone call to Arizona Governor Doug Ducey on the day of the governor certifying the election in Arizona of Joe Biden.
My senior staff knows this. We've had so much outreach personally from both the president and the vice president that I had to change the ringtone on my phone. And it rings "Hail to the Chief" because I didn't want to miss another phone call directly from the White House to help the state of Arizona.
Arizonans showed up for our democracy. Every Arizona voter has my thanks and should know that they can stand proud that this election was conducted with transparency, accuracy, and fairness in accordance with Arizona's laws and elections procedures, despite numerous unfounded claims to the contrary.
And I want to thank Arizonans for making their voices heard and voting in record numbers. The votes have been tabulated. All 15 counties have certified their results. In addition to certification, with Senator-elect Mark Kelly winning the general election, I will be signing official documentation today that will be hand-delivered to the Secretary of the United States Senate so that Arizona's newest senator can be sworn into office as swiftly as possible.
Others believe Mike Pence had made phone calls to the Arizona governor to find a way to offset the 10,400 votes that Biden lead in Arizona. Just as Donald Trump called Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find him 14,800 votes to be able to win Georgia. And for this, Fani Willis, the district attorney in Atlanta, has completed the investigation of conspiracy to reverse the election in Trump's favor and has yet to file the actual state charges in Georgia.
The arraignment of the Mar-a-Lago documents conspiracy for violation of the Espionage Act, co-defendant Walton Nauta, who was caught in many videos moving document boxes from room to room to avoid Trump lawyers and authorities from finding them, has already been delayed twice. The co-defendant has not yet made his plea of guilty or not guilty because the lawyer from out of state who was paid by Trump's Political Action Committee told the judge that Walt Nauta has not found yet an attorney who is licensed to practice in Florida to represent him. But on Thursday this week, Walton Nauta has finally pleaded not guilty at his arraignment. To help us understand the culpability of Walt Nauta as a co-conspirator, a willing participant to the crime, here's a video from lawyer Ben Marcellus of the podcast Midas Touch Network.
You may not have heard, but they were working in the various states like Wisconsin and Georgia and Nevada and Michigan, effectuating the overall conspiracy to try to overthrow our democracy. And I like that the reporting is kind of catching up to our reporting here at the Midas Touch Network. But when there are other validators of the reporting that we previously have delivered, I want to show it to you because I think, especially where it's coming from some somewhat right-wing media. Wall Street Journal, of course, is right-wing, but when it comes from sources like the Journal, particularly, I think it shows that there's also a real kind of imminent nature of what Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation is kind of wrapping up. And it also, to me, signals that usually when people leak to like the Journal or the Post, Murdoch-controlled papers against Trump, it's usually also coming from Republicans. So I always like to see who is pushing, who are the sources that are pushing these stories. And here's the story by the Journal. Jack Smith probe of 2020 election challenges focuses on Trump's lawyers. By the way, you've been watching the Midas Touch Network. We've been saying this. So this is what it says. It goes, Special Counsel's Jack Smith's team in recent weeks has taken a growing interest in the role of lawyers and other figures involved in legal efforts aimed at reversing Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election. Well, interesting phraseology there by the Wall Street Journal. You mean overthrowing our democracy? You mean in the efforts to try to turn America into an authoritarian fascist regime? Okay, but go on. Prosecutors from Smith's team have issued subpoenas and asked questions centered on several key figures in those post-election efforts, including Sidney Powell, a pro-Trump lawyer who spread baseless claims of widespread voter fraud. The subpoenas have also requested communications with Emily Newman, a lawyer who worked with Powell, and Mike Roman, a Republican operative who headed election day operations for the Trump campaign and dispatched lawyers to swing states before November 2020. Right, 2 points I want to make right now. First, Michael Roman, of course, is cooperating with the Department of Justice, cooperating with Special Counsel Jack Smith's team, has entered into a proffer agreement, meaning he's going to tell Jack Smith everything about the crimes he committed and the crimes that he observed. Mike Roman was the head of Election Day operations. He was the person, the foot soldier, actually tasked with carrying out the fake elector scheme by Trump's lawyers. So the fact that you got Michael Roman cooperating with Special Counsel Jack Smith could not be bigger. And that's, of course, why you also find out that Rudy Giuliani is also cooperating with Special Counsel Jack Smith's team. Rudy Giuliani had a proffer session, a voluntary interview where Giuliani spilled the beans, told Special Counsel Jack Smith and his team everything as well, which is big that you've got Giuliani now cooperating. And notice Giuliani's been very, very, very silent lately, other than reposting tweets that mention his cooperation. So that's always interesting. And he did say he had an insurance agreement against Donald Trump that would prevent him from going to jail. That, if it was required, he would use at the right time. So those are individuals who are cooperating. That's point one. The second point that I wanted to make is just, you may be wondering, well, don't lawyers represent criminals all the time? Like, is it criminal to represent a criminal? No. It's fundamental to our constitutional system that people who are accused of crimes have the right to a lawyer. In fact, it's a constitutional right to have the right to a lawyer. And if you can't afford one, one is appointed to you. You get a public defender either at the state or federal level. And so it's not representing a criminal or someone accused of a crime that is problematic. The issue becomes when the lawyer is used to commit more crimes. Then there is no attorney-client relationship anymore, and the law doesn't recognize any attorney-client privileges. So if someone's accused of a heinous murder and they're being represented by a lawyer, it's not illegal for the lawyer to represent that individual. But if the lawyer then helps the client conceal evidence, obstruct justice, and threaten witnesses, well, then the lawyer's not being a lawyer anymore. The lawyer's committing crimes. If the lawyer then goes on and harms someone or causes injury or damage to someone, clearly that's not part of the attorney-client relationship. Similarly, people who have been representing Donald Trump, whether it's a John Eastman or a Giuliani or Evan Corcoran or an Emily Newman or, Sidney Powell. You could represent someone in a case, but when you then are out there committing fraud, when you are then out there trying to overthrow the democracy, you're not acting as a lawyer anymore. And then there is a waiver to attorney-client privilege under what's called the crime fraud exception. So the article goes on to talk about how, of course, we remember that meeting that took place in late December of 2020, where, as mentioned in the January 6th committee hearings at the White House, where one of the individuals from Trump's team, Trump's kind of body man and personal aide, opened the door and let in like all the team crazy people, like the Sidney Powells and the Mike Flynn's and the Giuliani's and what people in the Trump administration called team crazy. And then some of the Trump lawyers who fashioned themselves as team normal. I don't know how you have team normal in the Trump administration, but people like Eric Hirschman and Pat Cipollone and Patrick Feldman, Trump's other lawyers who were telling Donald Trump, you lost, give it up. There was this big fight that took place there in the White House, in the Oval Office. People were screaming at each other. Giuliani and Powell and Team Crazy were saying, seize the election machines, declare martial law, engage in all of this unlawful conduct. And the very next day, Donald Trump put out a post saying, January 6th, it's going to be crazy, show up. So lots of lawyers in that room, and special counsel Jack Smith is zeroed in on what took place in that room. So that's a major, major, major focus as well. The article goes on to say that one of the things that they were focused on with Giuliani, prosecutors questioned Giuliani about the role of other lawyers, including John Eastman, who was one of the architects of the strategy to stop Congress from certifying Biden's victory and sought to persuade, again, this is how Wall Street Journal threatened Mike Pence not to certify the votes for Biden and to stop the certification process. Giuliani and Eastman were central figures in the so-called war room at the Willard Hotel, a five-star hotel in downtown Washington, where some of Trump's most loyal advisors worked to overturn the election results. And look, here's what I think is going to happen, and you could see it from this article. I mean, I think Eastman is going to be indicted by Jack Smith and by Fulton County District Attorney Phony Willis. Even though Giuliani's cooperating, I think you see Giuliani may even take a plea agreement to some smaller charges and ultimately cooperate, but I think he'll be charged by Jack Smith. I think he'll be charged by Fulton County District Attorney. He's trying to cooperate, though, now, I think, to get out of jail time. Sidney Powell, I think you'll see charges brought against. Jeff Clark, you will see charges brought against, in my opinion. I think you'll see charges brought against this new individual not new individual, but new in terms of us talking about her, potentially brought against Emily Newman. I think in connection with Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into the theft of documents as well. That's still ongoing, even with the indictment being filed. Boris Epstein's name is talked about a lot. I think we'll see potentially, in my opinion, an Epstein indictment. So these are all Trump's lawyers. MAGA, make attorney, get attorneys. And to see this now being confirmed by the Wall Street Journal.
We are going to take a commercial break. Please stick around. Welcome back to The Pulse. The legal troubles of lawyers who surrounded Trump in his efforts to pitch the lies that he won the 2020 presidential election is continuing and growing. As reported in various media, former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani was summoned for questioning by the special counsel Jack Smith for alleged involvement in the January 6 conspiracy to overturn the Biden election. By pitching a lie that state electors can vote for Trump when then Congress convenes, and then Vice President Mike Pence can read the votes submitted by fake electors. Rudy Giuliani, a lawyer in Linwood, has been touring the country from state to state to encourage them to reverse the election of Joe Biden under a fringe theory called independent legislature theory, the same theory that was rejected by the U.S. Supreme Court last week. Rudy Giuliani, who is a defendant in many cases already been filed, including the defamation lawsuit by two voting machine companies, Dominion Voting Systems and Smartmatic, who sued separately the lawyers of Trump who were spreading lies about the machines. Dominion already agreed to the offer of Fox News for damages on this defamation lawsuit. Here's some good analysis by Legal AF and Midas Touch Network on the troubles of Giuliani.
I'm Ben Mycelis from the Midas Touch Network. The Washington, D.C. Board of Professional Responsibility has made its recommendation that Rudy Giuliani should lose his license to practice law in the District of Columbia. This comes after multiple days of hearings back in December of 2022, where Rudy Giuliani testified and many others testified. We covered that here on the Midas Touch Network. Now, in a scathing order, the Board of Professional Responsibilities is recommending that Rudy Giuliani lose his license, that he be disbarred for spreading lies about the 2020 election and by filing and participating in frivolous lawsuits, and particularly focusing on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania lawsuits that Rudy Giuliani had brought. Here is the scathing order. The D.C. Professional Responsibility Committee states the following. Here is their finding. Mr. Giuliani's rash overstatement claiming that the election was stolen had no evidence to support it. His utter disregard for facts denigrates the legal profession. For the foregoing reasons, the hearing committee finds that respondent Rudy Giuliani violated Pennsylvania Rules 3.1 and 8.4d and should be disbarred from the practice of law in the District of Columbia. We recommend that respondents' attention be directed to the requirements and their effect on eligibility of reinstatement.
Let's take a commercial break. Please stay with us for more Newsmakers.
With the many recent changes and focus on immigration law, now more than ever is the time to seek the help you need from an attorney you can trust. As an immigrant myself, I know the many difficulties and hardships involved in immigrating to this great country. With more than 10 years of experience in handling immigration cases, our firm can provide the necessary answers and solutions to your needs. Call Calderon Law today so we can work together to help you get the peace of mind you and your loved ones deserve.
Welcome back to the polls. There are new laws that our Nevada legislatures enacted and signed by Governor Joe Lombardo. Among them is a new law increasing the penalty for criminal liability for reckless driving when such driving causes serious injury or death, plus additional penalty if the incident happened in a school zone. Also, the new law allows for impounding the car of a driver involved in reckless driving even if no arrest takes place. That means even if the driver involved is not arrested, the car can be impounded and that will cost the driver more money. The law was to address the becoming frequent incidents of drag race in our city streets that endangers the public. Another new law that had taken effect in Nevada is that tenants will no longer be responsible for expense on repairs on a property they are renting to make the place habitable. This was to address the growing concerns about slumlords in the state who habitually rent a dwelling as is and would not respond to tenants' complaint for repair. So if you fix something, or you're going to fix something, let the landlord know you are going to fix something in the property and send them the bill.
We are out of time for today. Join us again next time here at The Pulse. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Sam Buban, thanking you as well. God bless your day.